Welcome to SWITCHTRACK, a summer mini-series brought to you by the Mischief Movement podcast. These are the real-life stories of rebels who changed direction by choice or by force and found freedom on the other side. Because sometimes life plays a tune that doesn't quite fit, and the most powerful thing you can do is flip the track entirely. I'm your host, Zoe Greenhalf, disruptive coach, mindset mentor, and mischievous guide for quiet rebels and unconventional humans who are done settling and ready to redesign a life that actually fits. In this series, we're catching up with past guests who've dared to pivot, disrupt, and create something more aligned to who they really are. Short, snappy, and full of insight, each episode is a reminder that you're allowed to change, to evolve, and to burn the old script if it doesn't serve you anymore. So whether you're standing at a crossroads, itching for more, or quietly plotting your next move, this series is for you. Let's jump into today's SWITCHTRACK story. Okay, so I'm back for another SWITCHTRACK episode, and this time I'm speaking with Kat Vandal, and I am so happy to have you back because I know that you have taken quite a pivot from the last time we spoke. Our original conversation was episode 10. So, Kat, welcome back. Where were you in life the last time that we spoke?
It's funny. So you're saying episode 10, but we both struggled to know exactly which month it was, but it feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Indeed. And it feels like a lot happened since. But yes, I was still very much involved with my kids fashion brand called Vandal Kids, which I had launched in 2022. And I was still quite determined to kind of save the company in a way. I don't know if I was saving it from me or I was just trying to save appearances. But basically, I was in the middle of trying to find either someone to buy me out, buy the concept, the brand IP out, and potentially keep me as a creative director, or find partners. But basically, the objective at the time was that how could I still be involved? How could I keep Vandal Kids alive, but make it work with what I love doing and what I think I'm good at, which is the creative direction. And it came from having a bit of a burnout and, loss of motivation, passion, and faith a little bit in myself more than the concept or the brand, and thinking that I really needed help. So it took me a while to realize that. It took me probably 2 years where I was kind of, doing coaching here and there, thinking I can still do it on my own. And then to realize actually, no, I need to delegate what I don't want to do because it's really not making me happy. And also it's like caring for your baby, like you want to have the right specialist do the right thing. You want to give the best care and not just like a quick coaching here and there. Like you want to have someone who can really take over. So I was looking for that person who could take all the business sides of things and the sales and marketing, because selling is just, my background is in marketing, but more visual marketing, branding.
Yes.
So still a bit more on the creative sides. So after we spoke, there was a few months of looking for someone. I started to talk with some people and to have proper perspectives of, what could happen. So that was the state I was in, and we were going to relaunch a bit bigger with a budget, hopefully, if we could raise the money, with a partner who was going to take over the whole business side. And actually, probably 2 months ago, I kind of called it off. So it's like I pivoted again, or kind of continued this pivot where I just realized, am I trying to save Vandal Kids, or am I trying to save my ego because I can't really just let go of it. And I kind of don't want it to end on something that's really not finished, or I didn't give it like everything it needed to actually be successful. It was a very hard decision, but I decided to call it off because something in my guts was telling me that it was a distraction from what I really wanted to do. And also, I guess the art has been picking up a lot in the last 6-7 months since I had my first solo exhibition in Berlin, and then the gallery, and then a lot of things happened, and being a little bit stuck in finding a way to save and relaunch Vandal Kids. Yeah, I decided to basically cut it off and focus full time on the arts.
Okay, so I'm getting the sense that even when we spoke the first time around, there was already a bit of, you weren't necessarily 100% sure where you wanted to take your brand, but something happened. So what changed, and what made you take that leap?
I think it's noticing the pattern of my anxiety and coming back and just feeling like it was very close to how I felt after I launched Vandal Kids, and realized, oh my God, why did I put myself into? Because I loved that first year of creating the brand, the concept, the product. And then as soon as it's out there and I have to show up and sell it and hustle, and I really didn't like it. And I mean, it's this gut feeling that it just didn't feel right. And probably even if I was going to step back and let other people run the company, I should still have this spark. Like I felt like I had lost it a bit. And also I think what helped is because the art journey was really accelerating, and it was taking a lot of time because, making the art, but also there is still a lot of marketing and selling around this. But I just thought, if that's really the dream, why do I keep having this distraction? And I think I was also thinking, am I keeping this Vandal Kids thing like a foot in it, which is probably not enough, like probably need to be a little bit more all in, but keeping my foot in it just as if I was worried to put all my eggs in the same basket. And was it more of a decision based on fear that, okay, if the art doesn't work, then maybe Vandal Kids would work? But no, actually, it's just really hard because the art career is it's not very linear. I mean, it could be very slow, right? It's just you don't become a famous artist overnight.
Yeah. So is that what you're doing now? Have you've stepped away from your clothing brand?
Yes,
not entirely, but you're moving your way out of it so that you can concentrate on your art.
Yeah, I've made I've emailed on my newsletter to say this is maybe not goodbye forever, but for now, I'm doing a clearance sale. I'm looking for a clearance stockist to take the stock, but it's taking a lot of space in my home, and actually I think it was taking a lot of space in my head.
I'm sure.
Lots of pollution. Yeah. So I feel like once I get rid of that stock, and I really don't want it to end up in the landfill. So I'm finding ways to, do massive discount for my customer or whoever couldn't afford Vandal Kids, because I know it's not cheap brand. And finding a reseller would be great. And then I would make a lot of space. And I'm sure somehow there will be this big weight off my shoulders. And I can't wait. But already I feel the weight off my shoulders for having taken the decision. I think I was dragging along, and it's like I didn't want to give it up. But actually, sometimes it's very important to know when to stop something and to move on. And in a way, I'm like, you know what? A lot of people who have got successful companies or successful projects, it's rarely the first one, right? So in a way, I thought maybe that was my mock, how do you call it, my trial. And now maybe that means the art is going to do very well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's really difficult to let go of something that you feel like you've put everything into. And maybe at the time it felt like, this is it. This is the thing that I'm going to do. And then at some point along the lines, you start to lose that spark and you think, actually, I'm not quite as convinced as I was. What's going on? And then that gets bigger and you think, should I just carry on with this? Where's it going? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like logically, maybe it does, but my gut feeling is like, not so much. It's a really scary place to be in. What do you think were the scariest parts of pivoting? You've already touched on something which I think is very common, is that idea that, it's hard to make money as an artist. But I know that you've had exhibitions and I know that you are selling your pieces, aren't you? Which is brilliant to hear.
Yes. And I guess I'm very impatient, maybe because I feel like I started the journey of finding myself and finding my career a while ago now, because I left my big, corporate job in 2020. So now it's been a while without having a regular monthly good salary. So I just feel like, okay, now it needs to happen at some point, because obviously having a startup like in fashion industry, or I guess any other industry, you don't really make money the first few years anyway. So it just feels like, okay, I'm starting again. And now, I need the money to come. But compared to my expectation, which are really high, I always feel like, okay, it's not enough. I'm still a bit scared that, I couldn't provide for my family, if it was just based on this. So that stresses me out a bit. Once I have a bit more financial safety, I would feel much less anxious. So this is it. But when you think about it, in a few months only, there's been a lot of exhibitions, and I have sold. I try to reinvest quite a lot in doing art fairs. All of those have cost, right? But it feels less stressful than the Vandal Kids, because Vandal Kids was always a lot of investment. If you want to create a new collection, you have to spend a lot of money up front, and you're not sure that you're going to sell, everything. Whereas this is more one by one. I create a piece of art, another, and it's much more, smaller investment here and there. So it feels a little bit more manageable, but it's very uncertain. An artist can be trendy 1 year and not at all the year after. And then it's constant. Is you do a solo exhibition, but then so what after this? You still have to find the next opportunity and the next. So it's also constant hustling as well. But it feels more right to me to talk about art, to talk about my passion. When actually, I think I realized with Vandal Kids, was I really that passionate about the clothing? I mean, there was initially a passion for doing something different, I think, something that people would talk about and that could be useful and, with a purpose. And I feel like I found my purpose with the art, and it's just making me happier. So, and then the other scary thing is, I guess because it's kind of my second or third, because if you think about, my career in office, then I tried something else, then I'm trying again. So I'm hoping third time I'm lucky, but also there's a bit of pressure. I'm like, this has to work. And this is a little bit the ego, I think, that's talking, as in, well, even for myself, but I just kind of, I want the success story now. And I was talking to my partner about this. It was like, but you've been on TV, you've been on press, you've sold like many pieces, you've done solo exhibition, like you've done a lot of things. But it feels like for me, as the success is also partly due to, if I'm financially viable and independent, that would be, it's a big,
I understand that.
A big thing for me. And I know, artists, like a lot of people who do art, they also do it on the side as a hobby. It's supposed, it's a pleasure, but I guess now I'm making it my job. It also needs to be kind of, it's not just a pleasure as well.
Of course. What has surprised you most, do you think, about life on the other side of this change?
I guess what surprised me, it's actually realizing how much I've done in the last, because I'm so focused. So basically I spend way too much time focusing on what I can't do, or what I haven't done. And, I feel like I've spent the last few years, since I realized that Vandal Kids was too much, not enough creativity and too much of the things I don't like to do or don't do well, I've been just focused on finding people to do it for me, or finding people to train me or do it for me. And then I started to feel like this a little bit with the art, thinking, okay, maybe I need galleries to sell the art for me, because I can't I don't want to sell it. I just want to make the art. Or I need an agent to find me all those opportunities and negotiate with, companies, brands. And then I was like, actually, when I think about it, in the last 9 months, having all those things that happen, like the solo exhibitions in England, in France, in Germany, the press, and all of this was without anyone. And my partner was like, maybe stop focusing on, because actually you've done it. So yes, like, it's because I'm impatient and I want more, but actually I wouldn't even have more time. If I had more opportunities, I wouldn't have physically the time to make all the art anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, actually, it's quite surprising how in the last few months, I've done it right, like, in a way, and it's gonna, it's slowly getting there. And it was like, if you maybe continue like this for the next year, I meet someone new that gives me a new opportunity and a new sales, and then I just maybe need to stop being impatient. So yeah, that was quite surprising to have to change that mindset.
Yeah.
And just think, actually, what have I done? And I can keep doing, and don't focus on, can someone help me?
Yeah. I was thinking the same, in the sense that I know Instagram is a set of highlight reels, but I do see the press that you're getting, the attention that your work is getting. And for me, on the outside, it seems like very little time that's happened. Maybe it's not, because that's just on the surface of what I'm seeing, and this has been bubbling away for a while now. But really, there are some people who will not get noticed for the first 10 years of the thing that they're doing. And you're already on a lot of people's radar. And I love the way that people are really understanding what your art is about, which is this sense of fun and a sense of joy. And that's what you're bringing to people. And if people are already tapping into that and seeing that, then I think it's wonderful, because, as you said, keep doing what you're doing and keep saying yes to those opportunities.
Yeah, true.
Finally, then, I just want to ask you what you would say to someone who knows deep down that they need a change, but maybe they feel stuck or scared. And I know that you've been there. So what do you think you would say to them?
So I would say, really make sure that you really know, inside. So don't rush too much, or, it's okay if it takes months or years before making that decision. It's finding that balance between not going too fast, I think, not being too impulsive with something that's quite, a big change, but also not dragging it for the wrong reason. Like, I think there's a lot of value in doing those, like, list of, what do I like about what I'm doing, what I don't like, and what would I like in that new career, and what I wouldn't like, and also what's important to you and not so important. I think doing those, like, kind of doing that work is quite important. But I would say also, there is your gut, so it's important to follow your gut, but I think it's good to educate yourself and get different perspectives. And I would say, don't hesitate to ask people. So you can, use a coach for, like, transition, and then those people, obviously they're trained to ask the right question. Sometimes the question that are the hardest, that you might not want to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Or ask around you. But I would say, be very careful asking advice from your family or your friends, because you never, like, just make sure there's no agenda, because it might be like your parents who are worried about you, and they might want you to do something a bit more, like, classic, like my family. My mom would have loved if I did, like, just a really 9-to-5 job, not too much, not, everything that I did was either too much or too, so she would have something to say. And then you can have friends who, are polite, and they don't want to hurt you. And they, lots of people would say, oh, why are you stopping Vandal Kids? It's so good. They love Vandal Kids as a customer, and then they're my friends, and they think what I've done is amazing. So it's making sure you ask the people who know you very well, or people who have been through this, or also people who are doing the job or whatever you want to do, pivot to and really understand what it takes. Because sometimes I feel like when I went from my big corporate job to creating Vandal Kids, maybe the reason we're not exactly aligned with the reality of that new lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, and maybe I was a little bit naive on certain things, thinking, my work is like, I would commute 2 to 3 hours a day, and it was quite intense. And I would spend an hour a day with my son. So a big driver was I wanted to be more flexible, have a better work-life balance, do all the drop-off, the pick-up, not having a nanny do it. And then, yes, there was this idea of wanting to launch a brand, do my own brand, be my own boss, not having all those processes to decide on something creative. And I really thought the job would be very creative. So there was a lot of naiveness. I was a bit naive on this. And in the end, it wasn't much better work-life balance. It was actually worse because there was no more borders. Everything was blurred between work and home because I would work from home. I would physically be there at drop off and pick up, but always constantly on Instagram, on my email, on my head. So I wasn't emotionally, mentally here.
Yeah.
And then being an entrepreneur is actually not that much creativity as well. And I found out maybe, after. So really, I think asking the people who do what you want to do to really understand if it aligns with the reason why you want to do it, and if it aligns with what's important for you.
Yeah, that's great advice. Have you actually met any full-time artists who have given you any sort of tips or?
Yeah, I have met quite a few artists now through doing all those art fairs, and some of them we keep in touch. It's quite difficult because the art world, it's so different from one artist to another artist.
Okay.
Something that I've decided to do is, because it's my full-time job now, it's trying to bring my marketing kind of background into what I do to make it successful. So I treat it still like a bit like a business with a story, with a marketing concept. And I think this is probably something that helps me through the transition, because it's kind of trying to still use my skills, because the art world is new for me. I don't really know. So I'm learning as I go, and but at least branding, marketing. So it's a little bit reassuring. And I think this is probably helping me stand out a little bit. It's not just me painting and doing things that I feel like it and I love. Like, I'm trying to find the in between where I'm using my strengths from my before and my passion. So I would say this as another actually advice is, what can you use? What was your strengths or your job or your expertise before that you can use in this new life or career that could make you keep a little bit sane and feel like a bit comfortable and confident with what you're doing, and also make it you, what unique to you. So I think that's a little bit what I'm trying to do.
Fantastic. Kat, listen, where can everybody connect with you or find out more about you and your amazing artwork?
So I am quite active on Instagram, and my handle is cat.vandal, Vandal. This is my last name. It's my real name. I've got a website, which is catvandalart.com. Then in September, I'm going to have a new solo exhibition in London, in Fitzrovia. So I will share more information about this, but Instagram and website is the main place to see what I do. I share lots of videos about my art, my process, and a bit of funny videos as well.
Fantastic.
Just trying to bring a smile to people's face. That's the mission,
does
right?
That, doesn't it? So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming back and
thank you for
updating us on, what's been happening since we last spoke. And before we go, I've got a feeling that I totally pronounced your surname wrong at the beginning with my big, silly British accent. Say it properly for me, please.
Well, I mean, if I say it the way I would say it French, it's Vandal. But I have learned that in England, every time I'm on the phone and I say my name Vandal, they don't. So it's so I say Vandal, but I say it in an English accent. I mean, a French English accent. But when I speak in France, it's Vandal.
Cat Vandal.
But you can say Vandal.
Well,
it's like it's a Vandal.
As soon as I
right?
said
Vandal
it, I was like, that was so English. Why did you say that? Thank you. In that case, I wish you all the best.
Thank you. You too. Honestly, thanks for having me. It was really nice to have a chat.
Thanks again. Take care, my love.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this summer mini-series. If you're already feeling that itch to pivot, or even just to pause and rethink, this is your reminder that you don't have to do it alone. Whether you're craving clarity, courage, or just someone to say, you're not crazy for wanting more, I'm here for that. You can book a free call with me using the link in the show notes. No pressure, no expectation, just space to explore what's next for you. So stay rebellious, keep making mischief, and meet me back here next week for another episode of Switch Track. Because changing course might just be the most powerful move you make.